Have you ever looked up at the night sky and wondered if the stars were looking back? Dr. Elena Marsh had spent 17 years studying the heavens, and she thought she knew them like old friends. That confidence died on October 3rd, when Orion's belt shifted 3 degrees east in under 6 hours. Not appeared to shift, actually moved. She checked her calculations 7 times, her hands trembling as she cross-referenced data from observatories across 3 continents. Every instrument confirmed the impossible. The stars were moving. By morning, amateur astronomers worldwide flooded social media with panicked posts. The Big Dipper had bent at an unnatural angle. Cassiopeia had gained 2 new points, transforming from a W into something that hurt to look at directly. Scientists scrambled for explanations. Gravitational anomalies, mass hallucination, equipment malfunction on a global scale. But Elena knew better. She had seen the precision in those movements, the deliberation. The patterns emerged slowly at first. On the second night, a constellation she had never seen before materialized above the Arctic Circle, visible for exactly 47 minutes before dissolving back into randomness. It resembled an eye, if eyes had too many angles, and suggested geometries that made her stomach turn. A graduate student in Norway photographed it. He stopped answering emails 3 days later. His last post showed a sketch of the pattern, surrounded by frantic calculations that devolved into nonsense. Elena became obsessed. She stopped sleeping, living on coffee, and the certainty that these patterns meant something. Her colleagues worried. Her sister called daily, begging her to take a break. But how could she stop when the universe itself was rewriting its fundamental structure? On the 7th night, she cracked the first sequence. The stars above her observatory spelled out coordinates, latitude and longitude, written in a mathematical language that predated human astronomy by implications she refused to consider. The coordinates pointed to an empty patch of ocean in the South Pacific. When she checked satellite imagery, she found a perfect circle of still water, miles across, reflecting the stars with impossible clarity. Ships reported equipment failure when approaching. Compasses spun wildly. Radio communications dissolved into whispers in languages no one recognized. Other patterns followed. Each night brought new configurations, each more complex than the last. A spiral that rotated counter to the Earth's spin, a grid that pulsed with rhythmic precision, geometric shapes that existed in more dimensions than should be visible to human eyes. Elena documented everything, filling notebooks with sketches that seemed to writhe on the page when she looked away. The world noticed. Governments convened emergency sessions. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from divine judgment to celestial celebration. Doomsday cults swelled with converts, but most people just watched the sky with growing dread, sensing something fundamental had changed in the relationship between Earth and the cosmos. On the 14th night, Elena made her breakthrough and her mistake. She found the pattern in the patterns, a metastructure emerging from the nightly reconfigurations. It was a message, or perhaps an invitation, or maybe a summoning. The mathematics were beautiful and terrible, revealing truths about the universe's architecture that human minds were never meant to process. She understood finally what the stars were building. Not random patterns, but a single massive design that required the entire visible sky as its canvas. Each night added another piece, and it was almost complete. Elena called no one, made no announcement, because she had also realized something else, something that turned her blood to ice. The final pattern, when complete, would spell out a name. Her name, in letters vast enough to span galaxies, written in starlight and cosmic dust. She was not the first to notice this. Every astronomer who had truly studied the patterns, who had looked deep enough and understood enough, found their own name emerging from the chaos. Personal messages written in the language of creation itself. The Norwegian student had seen his name. That was why he stopped responding. Elena walked outside her observatory as the 15th night began. The stars were already moving, sliding into their assigned positions with inexorable purpose. Above her, scattered across the infinite dark, she watched the letters of her name slowly, impossibly form. The stars had always been watching. Now finally they were ready to speak. And those who heard their true voices were never quite human again.